My sister stole my wedding venue by pretending to be me, and my parents supported her. I stood my ground and had my dream wedding. That was 2 months ago. Today, she's begging me to forgive her while my parents apologize. Look, I thought I'd seen it all when it comes to family drama, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what my sister pulled last year. Picture this. You're sitting there planning your dream wedding, everything's locked down, deposits paid, the whole 9 yards. Then your own flesh and blood swoops in like some kind of wedding vulture and tries to steal it all. No cap, this actually happened to me. So let me set the scene for y'all. I'd been dating my now husband Jake for about 4 years. Real solid dude, works construction, drives a beat-up Ford F-150 that sounds like a lawnmower but gets the job done. We're not fancy people, but we know what we want. After he proposed last spring, romantic as heck, did it right there at our favorite spot by the lake with a cooler full of Bud Light and everything, I started planning what I thought would be the perfect small wedding. I'm talking intimate. You know? About 50 people, mostly family and close friends. Found this gorgeous little venue called Willow Creek Farm, about 30 minutes outside town. It had this rustic barn vibe with string lights and everything, perfect for our style. The kind of place where you could picture your grandpa line dancing and your college buddies shotgunning beers in the parking lot. It was exactly what Jake and I wanted. The venue wasn't cheap though, cost us about $8,000 for the whole package, which included tables, chairs, catering setup, the works. Jake and I had been saving for months, picking up extra shifts, even sold his old Harley to make it happen. But we were committed, deposits were down, contracts signed, everything was set for October 15th. Enter my sister. Let's call her Sarah because honestly, I don't even want to say her real name right now. Sarah's always been the drama queen of the family, but this time she really outdid herself. She's 2 years younger than me, works at some marketing firm. Downtown, drives a leased BMW that she can barely afford, and has this whole image thing going on. Everything has to be perfect for her Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Sarah had been dating this guy Marcus for maybe 8 months when he proposed. Real whirlwind romance type deal. The proposal happened in July, and suddenly she's in full panic mode because she wants to get married before the end of the year for some tax reason her accountant told her about. She starts looking at venues and loses her mind when she realizes everything decent is booked solid. Here's where it gets wild. One day in August, I'm at work. I manage inventory at a Target distribution center. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills. And I get this call from Willow Creek Farm. The coordinator, this sweet lady named Beth, is all confused because apparently someone claiming to be me had called earlier wanting to move my wedding date. I'm like, hold up, what now? And Beth explains that this person said she was me and needed to push the October wedding to December because of a family emergency. But here's the kicker. They were asking about availability for September instead, not December. Something wasn't adding up. My stomach just dropped. I knew immediately what was happening. I asked Beth to describe the voice, and sure enough, it sounded just like Sarah. We have similar voices anyway, and Sarah's always been good at impressions. I told Beth straight up that wasn't me, and to ignore any calls unless they came from my actual phone number, but the damage was already being planned. That evening, I confronted Sarah at our parents' house. We were having our usual Sunday dinner. Mom makes this killer pot roast every week. I brought it up casually, like, hey, funny thing happened today, someone pretended to be me and called my wedding venue. Sarah got this deer-in-headlights look for about 2 seconds before switching to offense mode. She starts going off about how I'm being selfish, how I could easily move my date, how her situation is more urgent because of the tax thing. Mom and Dad are just sitting there eating their green beans like nothing's happening. Update. So apparently, my sister's been telling everyone I'm being unreasonable about sharing my wedding venue. The family group chat is blowing up, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm crazy for not just moving my date. Should I compromise to keep the peace? Or is this as messed up as I think it is? That's when Sarah dropped the real bombshell. She looks me dead in the eye and says, I already called them back and confirmed the date change. You're having your wedding December 10th now, and I'm taking September 23rd. Just like that. Like she was telling me what we were having for dessert. I literally couldn't speak for a minute. Jake's sitting next to me, and I can see his jaw working like he's about to say something that's going to get us kicked out of Sunday dinner permanently. But I put my hand on his arm because this was something I needed to handle myself. You did what? I finally managed to get out. Sarah starts talking faster, like she's been rehearsing this speech. She goes on about how September weather is better, how her photographer has more availability, how Marcus's family is coming from out of state and it works better for them. Then she hits me with the real kicker. She says she's already sent save the dates to people. My parents are still just sitting there. Dad's got this uncomfortable look like he wants to disappear into his mashed potatoes, and Mom's doing that thing where she pretends to be really interested in cutting her meat so she doesn't have to make eye contact with anyone. Mom, Dad, you're really gonna sit there and let her do this? I asked. That's when Mom finally speaks up, and what she says just about knocked me off my chair. She goes, well, honey, Sarah's situation is more complicated. Maybe you could be flexible just this once. Family comes first. Family comes first. Can you believe that? Like I wasn't family too. Jake squeezed my hand under the table, and I knew he was thinking the same thing I was, that this was absolutely insane. But I kept my cool because losing it wasn't going to solve anything. Sarah, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, call Willow Creek tomorrow and cancel whatever you think you booked. I have a signed contract and I'm not moving my date. She got all huffy and said it was too late, that she'd already put down a deposit using my name. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure counts as fraud, but whatever. She claimed she'd pay me back for any confusion, but that September 23rd was happening whether I liked it or not. I got up from the table, Jake right behind me, and I told them all exactly what I thought about their little family meeting. Not gonna repeat it here because Mom reads these posts sometimes, but let's just say I made my position crystal clear. The next morning, I was on the phone with Beth at Willow Creek before they even officially opened. Turns out Sarah had indeed called back, but Beth was smart enough to ask for verification. When Sarah couldn't provide the confirmation number from our original contract, Beth told her she'd need to have me call directly to make any changes. Sarah had been bluffing. She never actually changed anything. She was counting on me backing down once she announced it as a done deal in front of everyone. Classic manipulation move, and honestly, it might have worked on the old me. But here's the thing about planning a wedding, it changes you. All those decisions, all that money, all those dreams you've been building up. It makes you realize what you're willing to fight for. I called Sarah and told her the jig was up. She got all defensive, saying she was just trying to make things work for everyone. I told her she had two choices, find her own venue or wait until after my wedding to start planning hers. No negotiation. That's when the real family drama started. Sarah went crying to Mom and Dad about how mean I was being. Suddenly I'm getting calls and texts from aunts and uncles I haven't heard from in months, all asking me to be the bigger person and think about what's best for the family. It was like I was living in some alternate universe where stealing someone's wedding was just a minor inconvenience that could be solved if everyone would just get along. Jake was incredible through all of this. One night we're sitting on his couch, sharing a bag of Doritos and watching some Netflix show, and he just looks at me and says, "You know I'll back whatever play you want to make here, right? If you want to elope tomorrow, I'm in. If you want to have the wedding we planned, I'm in. If you want to rent a bouncy castle and have the whole thing at Chuck E. Cheese just to spite them, I'm in." That's when I knew I was marrying the right guy. I decided to take a different approach. Instead of fighting with my family, I just started moving forward with my original plans like nothing had happened. I confirmed all our vendors, finalized the menu, sent out our invitations. I made it clear through my actions that October 15th was happening with or without their support. Sarah, meanwhile, was scrambling to find another venue. September was only about 6 weeks away at this point, and apparently the wedding industry doesn't move that fast. Who knew, right? The guilt trips intensified. Mom called me crying one day, saying I was tearing the family apart. Dad sent me this long text about forgiveness and compromise. Even my grandma got involved, telling me that in her day, sisters looked out for each other. But you know what? I'd reached that point where you realize that keeping the peace isn't worth sacrificing your own happiness. Jake and I had dreamed about this day, saved for it, planned every detail. I wasn't about to hand it over because Sarah couldn't get her act together. The breaking point came about 3 weeks before my wedding. Sarah shows up at my apartment unannounced, mascara running, looking like she'd been crying for hours. She tells me she couldn't find another venue that wasn't either completely booked or way out of her budget. "Please," she says, "just switch with me. I'll pay for everything. I'll make it right. But I need this." I looked at her standing there in my doorway, and for a split second, I almost caved. She's still my sister, you know? But then I remembered all the stress, all the family members choosing sides, all the nights Jake and I had stayed up talking about whether we were being crazy for standing our ground. "Sarah," I said, "you created this problem. You fix it. My wedding is October 15th, and that's final." She stormed off, but not before telling me I'd regret this for the rest of my life. Update: 3 weeks to go, and my sister just showed up crying, begging me to trade dates. My parents are saying I'm destroying the family over a venue. I'm starting to lose sleep over this whole situation. Part of me wonders if I should just give in, but another part of me thinks this is about more than just a wedding date. What would you do? The next 2 weeks were rough. Half my family wasn't talking to me. The other half was trying to play mediator, which somehow made things worse. Sarah had apparently told everyone that I was being vindictive and selfish, that I was ruining her chances at happiness out of spite. But Jake and I pressed on. We had our bachelor and bachelorette parties. We finalized all the last-minute details. We practiced our vows. Through all the family drama, we never lost sight of what this was really about, us starting our life together. Then, about a week before the wedding, something shifted. I got a call from my cousin Jenny, who's always been pretty level-headed about family stuff. She told me that Sarah had been going around telling people that she never actually wanted to get married in September anyway, that she was just testing me to see if I'd be willing to compromise. Testing me. Like my wedding was some kind of loyalty exam. Jenny also mentioned that a few family members were starting to see through Sarah's story. Apparently, she'd been posting on Facebook about venue shopping and complaining about how expensive everything was, which didn't match up with her claims about having everything figured out for September. The truth was coming out, and it wasn't. Pretty dot October 15th arrived, and let me tell you, it was absolutely perfect. The weather was crisp and clear, the leaves were just starting to change, and Willow Creek Farm looked like something out of a magazine. We had about 40 people show up. Some family members boycotted to support Sarah, but honestly, their absence made the day more peaceful. Jake looked incredible in his navy suit, and when I walked down that aisle in my grandmother's vintage dress, I felt like the luckiest person alive. The ceremony was everything we'd dreamed of, and the reception was this amazing mix of heartfelt toasts, terrible dancing, and way too much beer. My dad did show up, looking uncomfortable but trying to be supportive. Mom came too, though she spent most of the evening looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. But you know what? It didn't matter. I was surrounded by people who genuinely wanted to celebrate with us, and that made all the difference. The best part was during our first dance. Jake whispered in my ear, "Was it worth all the drama?" And I looked around at all our friends laughing and having a good time, at the string lights twinkling in the barn, at the life we were building together, and I whispered back, every single bit of it. Sarah didn't come to the wedding. I heard through the grapevine that she and Marcus had postponed their engagement indefinitely, which honestly didn't surprise me. The whole wedding drama had apparently caused some issues between them, and Marcus was starting to see the red flags that the rest of us had been dealing with for years. For about 2 months after the wedding, things were quiet. Jake and I settled into married life. I changed my name. We started talking about buying a house. The family drama felt like ancient history. Then last week happened. I'm at home. It's a Tuesday evening. I'm making spaghetti and watching some cooking show when there's a knock at the door. Jake's at his buddy's garage working on some project, so I figure it's probably Amazon or something. I open the door and there's Sarah, looking like she's been through the ringer. Hair's a mess. She's wearing this old sweater I remember from high school, and she's got that puffy face thing that happens when you've been crying for days. "Can I come in?" she asks, and her voice is so small I almost don't recognize it. I hesitate for a second, but honestly, curiosity wins out. I let her in, and we sit at my kitchen table, the same table where Jake and I had planned our entire wedding while dealing with all her drama. Sarah starts talking, and it all comes spilling out. Apparently, the stress of trying to plan a wedding in 6 weeks, combined with all the family fighting, had been too much for Marcus. He'd started questioning whether Sarah was really ready for marriage, whether she understood what commitment meant. The final straw was when he found out that Sarah had lied to him about me agreeing to switch dates. He'd thought the whole time that we'd worked it out as sisters, that it was all mutual. When he learned the truth, that Sarah had tried to manipulate the situation and turn the family against me, he called off the engagement. "I lost everything," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "My fiancé, half my friends, and I ruined my relationship with my own sister over a stupid wedding venue." I didn't say anything at first. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, but mostly I just felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that she'd hurt so many people. Sad that our family had been torn apart over something that should have been joyful. "I was so jealous," she continued. "You had everything figured out. Jake's such a good guy. You guys have this solid relationship. You knew exactly what you wanted. And I was just scrambling, trying to keep up with this image of having my life together when really I was falling apart." She apologized. Not one of those fake apologies where someone says sorry, but then explains why they were justified. A real, honest-to-goodness apology where she took full responsibility for what she'd done. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. "I just needed you to know that I realize how wrong I was. You deserved your dream wedding, and I almost took that away from you because I was being selfish and stupid." Update. My sister just showed up at my door crying and apologizing for everything. She lost her fiancé because of all the wedding drama, and says she realizes how wrong she was. I'm honestly not sure how to feel about this. After everything that happened, can we really just go back to being sisters? The next day, Mom called, then Dad. Apparently Sarah had gone to them too, telling them the full story of what really happened. They were calling to apologize to me. Mom was crying on the phone, saying she should have seen through Sarah's manipulation from the beginning. Dad was quieter about it, but he admitted that they'd handled the whole situation wrong and that they should have supported me from the start. "We were so focused on trying to keep everyone happy that we forgot about doing what was right," Mom said. "You were planning your wedding, you had everything paid for and arranged, and we let Sarah make it about her drama instead. It felt good to hear, but it also felt weird. Like, where was this clarity 6 months ago when I needed it?" I talked to Jake about it that night. He was working on his truck in the garage, covered in grease and looking like every mechanic stereotype you've ever seen, and I filled him in on everything. "So what do you want to do?" he asked, wiping his hands on an old rag. That's the thing about Jake. He never tells me what I should feel or how I should handle family stuff. He just listens and supports whatever decision I make. "I don't know," I admitted. Part of me wants to just tell them all to forget it, that they made their choice when they chose Sarah over me. But another part of me misses having a normal family. We talked about it for a while, sitting on his workbench sharing a beer and watching the sunset through the open garage door. Eventually, Jake said something that really stuck with me. You know, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. I'm not saying you have to forget what happened or pretend like it was okay, but maybe there's a way to move forward that doesn't involve carrying all this heavy stuff around forever. Smart guy, my husband. So, here's where we are now. I've decided to cautiously rebuild relationships with my family, but with some serious boundaries in place. Sarah and I are talking again, but it's going to take time to rebuild trust. She started therapy, which honestly is probably something she should have done years ago. Mom and Dad are making an effort too. They invited Jake and me over for dinner last Sunday, first time since before the wedding drama started. It was awkward at first, but by the end of the night, we were laughing about Dad's terrible jokes, and Mom was showing me pictures from her garden. Sarah wasn't there. We all agreed that might be pushing it for the first family dinner. But here's what I've learned through all of this. Sometimes standing your ground isn't about being stubborn or vindictive. Sometimes it's about knowing your worth and refusing to let other people treat you like your dreams and feelings don't matter. I got my perfect wedding day. Jake and I are building this amazing life together. We just bought a little house with a garage where he can work on his projects and a kitchen where I can try out new recipes. We're talking about kids, maybe getting a dog first to practice. The family drama feels like it happened to someone else now. Sure, there are still some awkward moments and hurt feelings that need time to heal, but I'm not carrying around all that anger anymore. Sarah's working on herself, my parents have learned something about favoritism and family dynamics, and I've learned that it's okay to be the difficult one when people are trying to walk all over you. Sometimes the people who love you the most are the ones who will test your boundaries the hardest. And sometimes the best thing you can do for everyone involved is to hold those boundaries firm, even when it's uncomfortable. Looking back, I'm glad I didn't cave, not because I wanted Sarah to fail or because I enjoyed the family conflict, but because standing up for myself in that situation taught me something important about my own strength. It showed Jake the kind of partner he was marrying, someone who won't back down when something really matters. And honestly, our wedding was better because of it. Every person who was there genuinely wanted to celebrate with us. Every moment felt authentic and joyful because we'd fought for it and earned it. Would I do anything differently if I could go back? Maybe I would have handled some of the conversations better, been less reactive in some moments. But I wouldn't change the fundamental decision to keep my wedding date and my boundaries intact. Family is important, but so is self-respect. Sometimes you can have both, but sometimes you have to choose self-respect first and hope that family follows eventually. In my case, it worked out. Not perfectly, not without scars, but well enough. These days, Sarah and I text occasionally. Nothing deep, just checking in, sharing funny memes, that kind of thing. She sent me a card on my birthday last month with a handwritten note inside that just said, "I'm proud of the woman you've become, and I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." That meant more to me than any grand gesture could have. So that's my story. My sister tried to steal my wedding. My family initially took her side, and I stood my ground even when it meant risking important relationships. It was messy and painful, and absolutely worth it. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your family is show them where the line is and refuse to let them cross it. It might cause drama in the short term, but in the long run, it builds respect and healthier relationships. Plus, I got an awesome wedding out of it, and Jake still tells people it was the best party he's ever been to. So there's that. If you're dealing with family drama around your own big events, here's my advice. Know what matters to you, communicate your boundaries clearly, and don't compromise on the things that are truly important to you just to keep the peace. The people who really love you will respect those boundaries eventually, and the ones who don't, well, maybe they're not the people you need in your corner anyway. Life's too short to let other people's chaos steal your joy. Fight for your happiness even when it's hard, especially when it's hard.